Well, it's official. Trump has lost his gun rights. Judge Juan Merchant went through with the sentencing before Inauguration Day, and now Trump has officially lost his rights. The question is, can he ever get them back? Will he ever get them back? And what is the other implication from his sentencing that may have a bigger impact on him personally, considering that he is the president-elect? We're going to talk about all of that, and of course I want to hear your opinion down below. Do you think this is something that should have waited until after he served his next term, or do you think it was right for the judge to push it through before inauguration? Let me know your opinion down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So as you know, Trump was convicted last year on 34 counts of falsifying business records. Now, he was potentially facing prison for the rest of his life and up to a $5,000 fine, even though most didn't think that was going to happen. It was still a possibility, 34 counts and 4 years per count. He could have maybe never seen the light of day again. Now, the sentencing part of this was actually supposed to happen before the election, but Trump's team was able to get it pushed back to January. Now, because the Supreme Court actually ruled on this, they said, hey, it can go forward, because essentially Trump knew that there was going to be an unconditional discharge right from the beginning of this whole thing. So even though he wanted it pushed back, the Supreme Court said, hey, no, we're going to go forward with it, 5-4 ruling, because it will have that unconditional discharge, and the judge, Trump, Supreme Court already knew this. So no prison time, no fines, anything like that. So he can proceed, of course, for his presidential duties that are coming in just a couple of weeks. But it will have an impact on some of those duties. Now, because he lost his gun rights officially, he's actually already turned his guns in. I talked about this a couple of months ago. But now that he's officially lost his gun rights, does that affect him? How does that affect him? Could he ever get those rights back? Well, he has a couple of different ways he could do this. First, he could ask Governor Kathy Hochul of New York to pardon him. I don't see this happening simply because I think she hates the guy.
I will tell you, I don't play games.
So I'd probably cross that one right off the list. Now you could say, well, hey, can't Trump pardon himself? Well, no, because these were actually state convictions, and presidential pardons only work for crimes on a federal level. And a president's never really pardoned himself. After Watergate, there were some things put in place that said, hey, you can't actually, or a president can't pardon themselves. But after what just happened with Biden and his son, if Trump was in a position where he could do it, which he can't, hell, maybe he would do like a last day leaving. No chance of me getting reelected, depending on how the election goes, in the next 4 years. Hell, I'll just pardon myself if he could. But and I'm sure Trump would try that at the end of the day, to be honest with you. But he can't, so that's kind of out of the question. Now, the other thing Trump can do, of course, is appeal this decision, which he's already said that he's going to. Now, because Trump has 2 or more convictions, he could apply for a certificate of good conduct. And this could potentially restore his rights. The problem with this, according to some that have actually restored the rights of Americans, is the fact that information has to be reliably sent to the FBI. The information has to be put in the system so NICS doesn't deny you. On a federal level, right, if you are not denied within 3 days, they can transfer the firearm to you. Well, in New York, they changed it to 30 days. And guess what? A NICS background check is only good for 30 days. So if you get a delay in New York, it's pretty much a denial at that point, because they have up to 30 days and they're going to drag their feet in states like that anyways. So he could get the certificate, being that it's in New York. I don't know how you guys freaking deal with that. It sounds like an absolute nightmare living in some of these places. But you would have to make sure that whoever represents him to get his rights back then has the information reliably given to the FBI through NICS. And he probably wouldn't buy a gun in New York anyways. I mean, hell, he's a resident of Florida. So I assume he would forego that option as it is, but still that could be one potential option he could use. Now, there is like another option that some people can use, but it's on a federal level, so it wouldn't help Trump either. That's going through the ATF and filing for relief, so you're able to own a gun. But since 1992, Congress has prohibited the ATF from appropriating any funds to investigate into people that actually file those applications through the ATF. But again, that's on a federal level. So really, a pardon from the governor is essentially the only way he's going to get those rights back. Now, he did not lose his right to vote. Since he actually lives in Florida, Florida defers to the state where you were convicted, and New York allows convicted felons to actually vote as long as they didn't serve any jail time. So he doesn't lose that right. One important thing that he will lose, by the way, and then I'm going to tell you if I think he would pursue getting his gun rights back, but probably one of the most severe consequences from this is the fact that there are several countries where you cannot travel to if you have a felony conviction. So China, Australia, United Kingdom, and Canada. Now, if he makes Canada a 51st state, well, he won't have to worry about that.
The people of Canada like it.
But, you know, these are places where you actually have to get special permission slips, essentially, to travel to these countries. And he's going to have to travel to some of these countries for sure. Now, George W. Bush actually ran into this issue because he was convicted of a misdemeanor drunk driving incident.
One of my many press conferences and told you.
And so in order to enter Canada, he actually had to file special permission in order to enter Canada when he was actually president. So there's that. You know, there's certain countries you just can't go to once you're a felon, and now Trump officially is a felon. So unless he wins on appeal or the governor of New York has a change of heart and decides to pardon him, he's probably not going to get those gun rights back. But let's just be honest. I don't think he's actually gonna restore those rights. He's owned guns. He's talked about concealed carry. I believe he is on our side, and I believe he's going to do a better job this time around than what he did the first time. But still, he's not like his son. Just signed a deal with grab a gun, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't see Trump pursuing that. I mean, plus the fact that he has Secret Service protection. Now, how good is that? Well, that's still left to be determined, but still, he has protection, and I just don't see him pursuing that. It's probably the last thing on his list. What we do need him to pursue, though, is our rights and make sure that they're not just protected and that we don't just have an easy years, but that we actually get things going to unrestrict a lot of the things that we've been having issues with for a long time. National concealed carry reciprocity, constitutional carry throughout all 50 states, ideally, restricting or even disbanding agencies like the ATF, removing NFA items like suppressors and stuff like that. There's a lot that can be done. That's just scratching the surface of some of the things that can be restored. And of course, pushing back on Biden's Safer Community Act and restoring some of the rights to citizens that have had their rights trampled on over the past 4 years. There's a lot that can be done. One thing I can almost guarantee you, wow, no, I can 100% guarantee you, is the Office for Gun Control Prevention, whatever the hell Biden calls it, that Kamala Harris was running, that thing will be dismantled. And that will be one less thing that me and you have to pay for coming January 20th. So thank God for that. Let me know your opinion, though, down below. Do you think Trump should have been convicted? Or do you think it should have waited after he served his term? What do you think about the conviction? Do you actually think he would pursue getting his rights back? Again, I don't think he would do that, but I do think he'll file an appeal and maybe he wins on that. Let me know what you think down below. Big thanks. See you in the next one. And as always, hold him down.